Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Rob Dew, and today's date is November 12th, 2015, and here's a look at what's coming up.
Tonight, a tech giant says that the next generation will live inside a cashless society. Then, how veterans are still not getting the care that they need. And a look into race relations on college campuses. That's next.
And it is just a mindless power grab by the feminist commanding the young throngs of chip-on-the-shoulder youth. We've done an analysis of it, all Ford Foundation, Soros manipulated, and it's just pathetic to see. These people will not get jobs anywhere. I don't care if it's a young white woman, a young white guy, black woman, whatever. I'm looking at these people. They're not getting educations. They're not learning how to make connections and get jobs. Because so much of business is just interpersonal skill. Even Bloomberg had an article on that a month ago. Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction. Easy assembly. Low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive free shipping and $20 off. Go to InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.
Welcome back. Well, the PC mob mentality culture has come to a full head. In fact, they're sending out white privilege surveys to public schools in St. Paul Public School District. Let me just read you the questions on this survey. This is just the idiocy that's going on. If I should need to move, I can be pretty sure of hassle-free renting or purchasing in an area of which I would want to live. Oh. Okay, so nothing's going to go wrong with you, because if something does go wrong with you, it must be racist. I can turn on the television or open the front page of a newspaper and see people of my race widely and positively represented. Okay. I can go to most supermarkets and find staple foods which fit my racial, ethnic traditions. I can go to a hairdresser's shop and find someone who can cut my hair. I can swear, dress in secondhand clothes, and not answer letters without having people attribute these choices to bad morals, the poverty, or illiteracy of my race. I mean, who comes up with this stuff? I can basically do whatever I want, and if anybody tries to call me out on it, well, then they're a racist, and they're exhibiting white privilege. I mean, that's basically what this is saying. And so this is obviously leaking into the universities. What's been going on in Mizzou is just totally off the wall. They've canceled classes over these KKK threats, which we'll get into that in a second. But here's the article from Blake Neff at a Daily Caller. Mizzou protesters segregate by race. White students asked to leave black-only healing space. In an ironic development, to say the least, protesters at the University of Missouri segregated themselves by race Wednesday night, having white students leave a gathering in order to create a black-only healing space. There it is, a black-only healing space, and you can see some of the tweets. It's not totally surprising that Concerned Student 1950 would attempt to create segregated areas as part of its protest movement. After protesters attacked reporters who were attempting to cover the drama Monday, a group attacked a white media, quote, for failing to understand the importance and respecting of black spaces, even though that tweet has been deleted. And so what we have essentially, you can actually see this type of behavior mimicked in insects, where a wasp actually comes in and sprays ants. All these ants are working together, but it sprays them with this kind of mind control spray and makes them all fight each other. Here's Leanne McAdoo with more.
Well, as if things couldn't get any crazier on campuses across the nation, the protests going on at Mizzou have now segregated themselves by race. Supporters of the group Concerned Students 1950 assembled at the student center after a planned march got rained out. Then, according to an activist who was on scene, whites were asked to leave. The crowd was divided up into 7 groups for blacks or at least non-whites, and then the white people were told to leave and to go upstairs. They were put into another group. Now, you'll recall that divide and conquer and deliberate segregation is a favored move of the Soros-backed Black Lives Matter movement. Rules for whites were introduced during protests last winter, and one of Black Lives Matter's main activists was at Mizzou to ensure the blacks-only healing space was set up. Deliberate segregation is approved by the KKK, mind you, but it's also approved by the establishment. Divide and conquer ensures that people will never actually work together to effect real change. Now, we should all be on the same side, but keeping us apart actually nullifies the power of the people. Now, here we have people who think they're actually fighting the establishment, when in reality, you are the establishment. They will call for you to be fired for challenging their subjective feelings. They will literally call for police to arrest you, even if you are a journalist just trying to document their protest.
Hey, who wants to help me get this reporter out of here?
Campus police sent out an email to students telling them to report any hurtful speech, even though, as this email points out, hateful or hurtful speech is not a crime. So they're not actually going to do any arresting of anybody. They're just going to be policing thought and chilling free speech on campus. George Orwell would be so proud. So progressives, they champion diversity, but not diversity of thought. But where have we seen such student tactics before? Now, the Red Guards were a mass paramilitary social movement that started out as campus thought police, attacking anyone that didn't hold the correct views. Chairman Mao is a favorite of campus crazies everywhere who think they're fighting the establishment. He is also the world's most politically correct mass murderer. Mao was a rabid believer in political correctness. In fact, he wrote the book. Not to have a correct political point of view is like having no soul. Those are the words of the Chinese communist leader who has the extreme distinction of having caused more deaths than any human in history, 50 to 70 million. That's more than Stalin and Hitler combined. Let's simplify this a little bit. Humans and ants have a lot in common. They're both very loyal, they have hard work ethic, and they also have a strong sense of community that allows them to build really complex societies. Humans and ants also have enemies that seek to destroy their way of life. The Ectomine wasp is a particularly dangerous foe for the type of warfare that it uses. Upon entering the colony, the ants will immediately attack it in order to protect their queen. But the wasp emits a pheromone that causes the ants to start attacking each other. With the ants fighting amongst themselves, the wasp moves further along, laying its parasitic egg, which will destroy the colony, and the ants are totally hopeless to defend against it. So ask yourself, are you fighting the real enemy, or have you been soaked in socialist lefty lunacy, which seeks to destroy not only institutions of higher learning, but the entire colony by attacking the very principles that this country was founded upon?
A new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
So it's not just the politically correct fervor that is attacking the students and all this PC mind control mindset. It's actually going after some of the faculty too. Right now, there's one of the beloved professors there, Dale Brigham, has resigned following this week of outrage over his refusal to cancel an exam on campus. Dr. Dale Brigham was considered most of the beloved professors at the University of Missouri, has resigned after refusing to cancel an exam for students who claim to feel unsafe. This is out of the Gateway Pundit by Jim Hoft. Dr. Brigham was sharply criticized in the media for requiring students to attend class to take his exam. Salon ran a story. Here's the headline. White Missouri professor shames black students for heeding violent threats. In fact, he was called by some on Twitter as a failure as a human being, and he's ended up canceling his classes and his exam and has resigned from the university. He's just fed up with it. And the person who started all the furor is at It's WTFVON, and she doesn't even go to the university. She just is from Houston, Texas, just jumping in on the racial hysteria that's being stirred up. And what were the threats? Well, there were threats that KKK was on campus intimidating people and that the National Guard was being called out. In fact, I want to get to that story, but first, let's hear from what, we had a little bit of common sense coming out of the Young Americans for Liberty. This is what they had to say.
I'm Ian Paris, and I'm president of Young Americans for Liberty at the University of Missouri. We're out here with a free speech wall protesting the literal speech police on campus. We think it's important that students understand that their right to speech is unlimited, that the fact that they might have an idea that's offensive to some doesn't mean that it has to be silenced. In fact, I think it's important that students express themselves regardless of their opinions, even if I disagree with their opinions, because that's the only way that we can achieve a marketplace of ideas, and those ideas can come to fruition should they actually satisfy the needs of the majority. And so I think it's important that people understand that bad speech be countered with more good speech. And I'm not saying that people's opinions are bad, but rather that if you disagree with something, it's important that you maintain a message of perhaps love and acceptance in order to counter that hatred. And that's one of the things that I've been encouraging today. Say somebody writes, people have written things that you might find offensive on the wall today, and I've told students, rather than trying to scribble it out and cover up what other people are saying, criticize it and express yourself in a positive way, to have a constructive dialogue rather than a destructive dialogue that takes away from the conversation. It's important that you express yourself positively and that you fight hatred, not with more hatred, but with love and acceptance. And I think that's what some students on campus don't understand, and certainly what the administration doesn't seem to understand. I don't think Tim Wolf was responsible for the actions of a few racist individuals on campus. I think Tim Wolf was made into a scapegoat in order to be a target of all the hatred that some students were feeling. And while their pain may be real, I don't think that they expressed it in necessarily a constructive manner. I think that they need to express it in a way that explicitly brings to the table what they're thinking, but also allows for other opinions to be heard. I think this can be characterized by statements by Jonathan Butler, in which he said that you either dedicate yourself fully to our goals or don't speak at all. And that's silencing the opposition. And I don't think that's a way that, on a public university, that you can achieve actual diversity, because diversity isn't exclusive to ethnicity. Diversity includes ideologies and philosophies, and you have to have differing opinions in order for diversity to be achieved. And by just silencing the opposition or running them out of office and chasing them down, saying that you've had enough of their incompetence, isn't necessarily the best way to go about this. I also don't think that Tim Wolf was responsible for the actions of a few racist individuals, and I don't think that him stepping down will alleviate racism. Today, when I look around on my campus, I see that an innocent man lost his job. I see racial tensions at an all-time high. I see the faculty members disrespecting students' First Amendment rights, and I see the administration cracking down with an authoritarian speech code, literally threatening students with police action should they say anything hurtful or offensive. And I think that that's a negative step, and I think that's a step backwards towards diversity rather than a step forward in achieving equality on campus.
Well, it's nice to see that not everybody is jumping in on the hatred bandwagon, but check this out. This is from the head of the student body of the University of Missouri, Peyton Head. Students, please take precautions. Stay away from windows in residence halls. The KKK has been confirmed to be sighted on campus. I'm working with MUPD, the State Trooper, and the National Guard. So people were sending this out. That's what led to the professor saying, hey, I'm still going to have the test. You guys need to show up. People called for his immediate resignation and dismissal. Turns out, he spreaded a false KKK threat. This is out of the Washington Post. University of Missouri student body president apologizes for spreading false KKK threat. But he apologized, so I guess there's no harm, even though people are now calling for his resignation. It's this type of behavior that we're going to see leading up to things like the death of Christmas. Here's a report from John Bound.
The Starbucks Holiday Cup controversy. I know. Who really cares, right?
The arrival of Starbucks holiday-themed cups means Christmas is on the way.
It's huge. People who don't even go to Starbucks regularly, they come during the holidays because we have the red cups.
This year's design is just a plain red cup.
Granting a corporate entity a controversial stranglehold over a Christian holiday takes the Christ out of Christmas. But to most Americans, something just doesn't feel right.